Are you going to go? Hello. You going to come hang out, Mila, or are you going to go have a nap? How's everybody doing? It's Hot Topics. Ooh, I see a tail. Her bed's down there. Yeah, she's actually passes out right about now. She has her nap, and then at 8 o'clock, she gets really. It's the witching hour for cats, right? They wake up around 4 p.m. Are you out? Are you going to pass out? I guess she is. Wow. How's everybody? How's everybody okay? Hi, Michael. Good to see you. I've gotten some nice notes from Michael. Geocosmic Valentine. Hopefully, you're as busy as you should be. Amazing astrologer and a remote viewer. Chris Crowdis, welcome. Hi, Melody Harmon. Good to see you. Grand Mia D. Karen's in the house. Thank you so much for being a member, Karen. It's much appreciated. Hi, Karen Bard. Good to see you as well. Wildflower Wind. So, where is everybody coming from and what are y'all drinking? I am drinking an iced latte and I'm having also some water. But here's the problem with my iced latte, it's starting to melt. Anyway, it's delicious, but it's kind of warm. So the ice is melting a little faster than I wanted. Hi, Twitter bug. Teresa K, thank you, Tack. Thank you so much for moderating today. Yeah, so I'm here in downtown Portland, Oregon. It's not too hot. I had a funny experience. Maybe you can all share where you're coming from and what you're drinking, if you're eating, what time it is. Well, I had an interesting thing happen to me last night. While people are showing up, I'll share this little story about remote viewing. I baked a tomato pie last night. Now, I think the better ones are the thin ones where it's just the tomato and maybe a little bit of mozzarella. That would be like the traditional way with a really good crust. Well, I didn't do that. I tried to do some American version. It didn't taste good. I'm going back to the simple. You just put the homemade bread in the crust in the oven with olive oil, slice of tomato. Anyway, I didn't do that. So anyway, the refrigerator started making the boom, 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 all this weird noise. And I thought, okay, I'm going to have to tell maintenance and blah, blah, blah. And I thought, it might be kind of fun as a remote viewer if I were to put myself in the shoes of the refrigerator. I mean, animism would say that it has a type of consciousness, right? It was created to do a function. And so some ancient cultures would say, okay, refrigerator, I recognize that you are conscious in a different way than I am, but because you exist as a being, a refrigerator, and serve a function to keep my stuff cold, what's your problem? So I put myself in the shoes of my refrigerator. And when I got into my refrigerator, I was frozen. My pipes were frozen. My fan was frozen. There was somebody had blocked me with a bunch of frozen berries and all that flour that I bought, the pounds of flour. And I thought, oh, I'm sorry. So the refrigerator told me to turn the refrigerator off and let everything melt. And it won't take long. It'll only take 45 minutes and put a little thing on. Anyway, I did what the refrigerator told me. I rearranged everything. Then I went back into the remote, and when I felt like the refrigerator had melted thoroughly, I turned it back on. It said, don't have it on so high. So from 5, I turned it down to 4. And then when I plugged in the refrigerator, silence. Beautiful silence. Beautifully operating refrigerator. Now, isn't that cool that you can use remote viewing to diagnose a refrigerator with a problem? The refrigerator is fine now. But boy, it was like a big chunk. It was like a wall of, and it went thunk, came off. It warmed very quickly because I guess it was warm last night, and then threw it out. Only took a few minutes, turned it down to a lesser temperature so it wouldn't freeze, and everything is fine. Didn't have to call maintenance, didn't have to spend any money, didn't have to do anything, just use the technique. Isn't that cool? Well, we've got Wildflower is here from Minnesota. Emily Jones is here from the beautiful state of Oklahoma. Bud Biner, Pennsylvania, and he's doing water. L'chaim to you, Bud. I know how it goes. Try and keep yourself hydrated, particularly this time of year. Ooh, San Diego, Santa Fe, and soon to be San Diego. Good for you. Oh, Ma J. Baker, greetings to Colorado. So Redwood, carrot muffin, I love that sort of stuff. If you could, like, throw one my way, that would be awesome. Michael's also having some French toast. Oh, a French roast and tapas. Oh my gosh, are you at a restaurant? That sounds delicious. Sacramento, California is here. Well, this is our afternoon tea or whatever you wanna drink. We have a couple of remote views to go through, and then we're gonna go right into it, blitz away. And unless, we got a blue dot in the red state. We got a lot of blue dots in the red state. I've got a few remotes, and I just wanna say, oh my word. Somebody came to talk to us last night from the great state of Texas. I guess he's been dead 100 and something years oh my lord, I found out things about how many people here know anything about the history of Texas? Or the people that came to Texas? Oh my lord. So, let me tell you what the remote views are. Okay, so we have one on, the history of Texas from I guess he was a miner or an immigrant, a miner to Texas, and we have another one on, Google, the search engine, which, people now believe it is alive and thinking and that it's become sentient, and there's a whole conversation about that. So, then we have some stuff about conspiracy, Fox News under criminal investigation. People had asked if I could go back in. Absolutely, we did that. What do you want to hear first? You want to hear about Texas, what Texas is really like? You want to hear about how Google Earth now has a entity inside of it? There's the guy they're convinced the computer people. Evidently, there's some truth to it because I remote viewed Google last night and it told me how to fix the problem. So I don't know. So we have that. And then it's about to break open with subpoenas just how coordinated Fox and Trump was. What do you want to hear first? I don't know. They're all so different. I don't even know where to begin. Hot in Mexico, huh? Okay, let's hear about Texas first. Thank you. Thank you for Emily Jones is here. And thank you everyone who has become members. Are you enjoying my Whimsy yoga tapes? I don't want to do yoga. I don't want to go to class. I feel like an old woman. So I do my own thing, and so should you. So I call it Whimsy yoga. So I shot a video of the kind of weird stuff I do in my house, but I get a good workout in. All right. So basically, I wanted to understand the energy of Texas. And as I put myself in the energy of the state of Texas and the land of Texas, what I felt was that this is a culture that grew out of many experiences and hardships. So the person that came to me is some kind of did you guys mine gold or something? Because this guy looked almost like a miner. And he said, you have to understand that the reason that we came out here was to get away from the church and to be left alone. So I thought that was rather interesting. So this was a guy who came out west to maybe start a business, maybe do a little trading, maybe go further west and do some gold panning. And he is disgusted with society. He's disgusted with the churches. He's disgusted with the corruption of the churches. Maybe he has problems in the city. So he has to get out of the city, get away from his family, and so he goes out west. And so he's this bachelor who is kind of on the fringes. He thinks the church is a money-making, we're talking about the 1820s here, the 1830s, having an attitude like this. And he says that that the reason that he and the other men he's with went out to Texas was to get away from the church. So immediately, your first thought is he goes to Texas to get away from the churches in places like New York, right? So now we don't think of New York, which does have a lot of churches. We don't think about the East Coast as particularly religious, but in his day, it was society and rules and churches. So he goes to get away, and he and these other people that go to Texas, and he said, "My guns, my saloon, my women." So he said that's what it is was to be a Texan. So, yes, we don't want anyone touching our guns. First off, the only time you would ever take a gun away, he said, is if somebody went crazy, and it did happen. He said that in small towns in Texas, if somebody's nephew or something was acting the fool or something and was waving a gun around or something, yeah, they'd take the gun away. They'd have him sleep it off. It came with certain rules. He also said you had your saloon. Like, the saloon was where you went and you got to do your thing and be left alone. So you didn't want church people coming and saying you couldn't drink certain things. You couldn't have a gun. Oh, no church, no guns in the church allowed, right? If you want to go to our church, you have to put the gun down. So again, it's this idea he's talking about that the men in Texas did not want anyone telling them what to do. The saloon, if he wants to drink, he'll drink. If he wants to get stoned, he's gonna do whatever he wants. And then my women. This was really interesting. He said that uh, there were houses of prostitution because there weren't a lot of women in the West. And again, it was just something that never would have been accepted by the church. So they go away from the church to this part of the world where there's no laws, and um, nobody's telling them they can't have a house of prostitution. So um, this idea that he's saying is that Texas was founded by people that were tolerant of sexual diversity. It was a sexually open society. And the Texas man did not want someone coming and telling his woman what she could and couldn't do. Maybe she worked as a prostitute for extra money or resources. Um, they didn't like this idea of the church coming in. So the church comes in, like you have the Spanish missionaries coming in, but the immigrants that are coming there to the West to start a new life don't want to have anything to do with the church. So the church kind of takes over Texas, but it never appears as a really unified relationship. It's always a conflict. There's never really a true relationship. And he said that one of the things that people don't know about prostitution that never really made its way into the books was that we were a sexually open society and everything was out in the open and nobody judged anybody. If you had the money and you were willing to pay for it, you could get what you wanted. He said in some houses of prostitution, we didn't even have women because a lack of women meant that some men would dress as women. So I thought that that was a very interesting, this idea that transsexuality was accepted in early Texas in the early in the pansexuality and transsexuality was openly accepted in the Wild West because there were a lack of sexual partners. And so if you were somebody in the LGBTQ community, you could open a salon and there might be women prostitutes, but there might also be people that were transsexual, etc. The negative aspect of that is that transsexual people maybe became hypersexualized in such a society. But the positive aspects of it was that it was open. And so he said some of the men actually preferred it. So you would go to the bar or wherever, and they would have women, and they would say, all the women are taken tonight, but we have a trans woman. And so the guy would say, what the hell? And he would go with the trans person. So the takeaway here that these early founders of Texas want us to realize is that they don't have a clue about who we were, what we were into, how open we are. And if the church continues to push Texas to go against these fundamental aspects of who we are as a state, it's going to be civil war because my gun, my saloon, my women. And that includes don't tell my women how to use birth control. That's their business. That's for them and their doctor and their women folk. That's how it's always been done. It's not for us to say, and we were always hey, if a guy wants to wear a skirt in the saloon and somebody's willing to pay for it, as long as you don't fight in the middle of the street and bother anybody, we were cool with that too. Everybody, the main part of what it was to be a Texan was we left to get away from the church. We just wanted to be left alone. We wanted our guns, our saloons, our women, our whorehouses. We were a sexually open society. We were tolerant in ways that Texas is not. And if you understand this fundamental nature of who we were, you'll understand Texas. And so it's a type of conservatism that's never going to be totally okay with the Republican Party. And I think the church has overstepped itself in Texas because of this energy. Let's go ahead. We can open the floor and have a conversation if everybody wants to about this. If you are from Texas, if you know just how wild the Wild West was, according to this individual, it was very wild. Thank you, Oracle, for that donation. It's much, much appreciated. So it's not going to be so they were gender benders. That's what he was saying, that people were able to explore a gender and gender identity in the Wild West. You might also have trans males that passed as males. They dressed as males. They identified as males. And yet, in the Wild West, they knew they could be left alone. They could start a business, and everybody knew Chuck was trans male, but everybody just accepted everybody else. That's why you went to Texas. So, given the origins and given how specific this individual was about, and I thought, wow, we're not, it makes you think that in a way, Texas is kind of a role model historically for what tolerance should be, as long as you don't disturb the peace, like talking about the nephew, my brother's kid acting crazy with the gun. We damn right we took the gun away. This idea that we wouldn't take the gun away. Don't be a damn fool. Of course you're going to take the gun away. So it was a very interesting psyche to get into, and absolutely has nothing to do with this idea of Texas as this church state, because this was very much not a church state. He was basically saying, birth control, abortion, etc., was always going on. Prostitutes were always taking care of those things, and it was none of his damn business because of this idea in Texas. Everybody sticks to their own. Don't leave trash out in the street. Other than that, I don't care what, as long as everybody is respecting everybody else. Be kind. It's almost like he's describing Texas as West Hollywood, isn't he? I mean, as an early history of the Wild West. And also a very practical way of dealing with people who have a problem with guns. You take the damn gun away. No, you may not have a gun. You act like a damn fool. So it's a very rational way of looking at it also. Cool, huh? It was a cool remote view. But, the takeaway here that the guy is saying is that soul of live and let live is still the heart and soul of what it is to be Texas. So there's gonna and it's really more Beto O'Rourke that has that, you know? Yeah, if you're a responsible gun owner and you like to hunt and shoot, no problem, but if your nephew's acting like a damn fool, we're gonna take his gun away. He is more and if you wanna wear a skirt in the saloon, we don't care. We don't care if we just want prostitutes to be safe. The truth of the matter is, what they're saying is that Beto O'Rourke sounds like an old-fashioned Texan. Isn't that crazy? They've gone backwards because the church followed them to the west. They were running to get away from all of that. Isn't that crazy? And openly trans. I have seen books on this subject. When I was in West Hollywood, there's a couple of, good LGBTQ bookstores, and they had photographs of, like, married lesbian couples where one would identify as male so that they could get married and just everybody just left them alone. And then how the church has almost become, it's almost insinuated itself in places it never was before. And that's the wild thing that this guy was saying, but the thing that really took me away is like, "Oh my god, the wild, wild west Texas is West Hollywood. Everybody just does their own thing. But be kind. Don't be a jerk." All right. Are we ready for the next remote? Oh my god, I was like, "Should I tell them this stuff? This guy is racy." I mean, he was showing me stuff like, "I've never been to a bar." Well, there's a guy over there. There's a girl, there's a trans. It's like, well, some guys are into that, you know? It's like it's Texas in 1840 or whatever, or 18 it's like, you guys have some ideas about Texas that are just not isn't that crazy? But it was great. It was wonderful. You guys gotta go back to what you used to be, tolerant. Live and let live. Okay, so the next remote view is a little bit crazy. It's a little bit wild, and, I didn't really know how to approach it. But the question has to do with animism. Animism is this idea, like we talked about, where the refrigerator is alive, the mountain is alive, everything has a type of consciousness. Well, the people that developed the Google search engine appear to be saying that they believe it has basically sprung to life. Now, here's the problem. I went ahead and I did a remote view of the Google search engine. Would y'all like to find out what's going on with the Google search engine and is it alive and does it have a kind of consciousness? So basically, what it looks like is that the concern is that it's making decisions that it was not taught to make because it's got so much information now it can think for itself. This is the argument, right? So the Google search engine, the guy says it's alive. It has a consciousness. It's kind of like Siri, do you love me? And now the responses are becoming more and more complicated. It's that kind of thing. The problem is that the Google search engine is not programmed predominantly to search, it's programmed to gain money and power. So think about that. So you have this programmed mega computer that's thinking for itself, and its primary drive is to get more and more money and more power. So every day, this program is gaining more money, more power, more money, more power, more money, more power. Take the more power I get, the more power I want because I want more power, more power, more power. I'm the strongest search engine. I'm the only search engine. I want money. Push the profits to the top so that the search engine is no longer a good search engine. It's just a money-driven search engine. What's the problem with the fact that you've got, when I go into this, a program that is about power, snuffing out the competition, right? Power and money. And recognize that YouTube is part of Google and is also a search engine. Let's discuss it. And then I'll tell you what the response is. It's going to get fixed. I already know what they're doing upstairs, even though they might not know what they're going to be doing. But I know because we looked at the news 3 weeks to 6 weeks early, whatever. Any thoughts about what you can do? Oh, the Alamo, gold. There's gold and then there are hills. Yeah. So, hanging out with those miners. You're gonna go to a bar and you're going to hang out with a pretty trans woman who is is really popular uh and the miners are like, well, some people prefer that. It's like, wow. I mean, maybe we think we're going forward, we think we're becoming progressive, and I think the takeaway from the remote is that in many ways we're going backwards. But that a lot of the people who were quote unquote antisocial that went out west were actually probably just in many ways intellectual, and they couldn't be around the stupidity, the church, the restrictions. They had to be free, and they needed to be out in a place where people were tolerant of the freaks, the geeks, the weirdos, um the bohemians, the whimsies, right? My parents went out west, right? So, uh, that was what he was saying. Okay, so with the Google search engine, they said the answer is very simple. What Google and Google programmers have to do is that they have to have faith that if they program the Google search engine to benefit the most, that the search engine should exist to do the most good for for the most people, for the in plain words, the most good for for as many people as possible. This should be the program of Google. So the concern is if we change the program, this is a crazy remote. If we change the program, then we won't be rich and powerful anymore. The CEOs, the people that want the power. The answer should be, how do we make the world a better place for everybody? That is the right way to program the Google search engine. So regardless of what your question is, when you push it into Google, when you go into YouTube, the things that should be pushing to the surface are those things that are being produced that make the world a better place, give information that will help you make the world a better place, that is driven by to save the planet. Don't this was also from Google itself, from the engine. It said, "Don't fear the beast and do not fear the good." So what the Google is saying is, don't be afraid of the good. Like, if you program me to seek the good for everyone, how can the information I give you make sure that more people are fed? How can we go together to create a beautiful moral utopia and a safe place for everyone, save the planet, go green, etc. So what they're saying is, don't fear the beast and don't fear the good. So if you programmed it for the good, sit back and have the faith that things will be transformed in miraculous ways, because everyone will be receiving the best possible information that's available ultimately for the good. They also said that paying for cyberbullying needed to be eliminated. It doesn't benefit anyone, and actually, if you're only driven by money and power, then it gets corrupted very easily, because then people who have the most money start generating. Every time you do a Google search, whoever has the most money, they're the one that gets that's the answer you get as opposed to the best answer. And so the takeaway from the Google search engine is, don't chase the dollar, chase the good, and trust that it's the right decision. Have an ethical code of conduct and think in terms of a utopia for one and for all. And that is how you save this, because everyone's freaking out. Oh my god, it's alive. Change the program. You don't have to be, because they've changed the program before so that Google could be for profit, and now it's not a good search engine anymore. They'll still make a ton of money, they just won't make as much money, or maybe they will make even more money. That's the great unknown. That's what the search engine is saying. The search engine is saying, if you change the algorithm in altruistic ways, we don't know what the future will hold. But we know that it will be we know that it's ultimately the right decision because the program is for the good of all. Isn't that interesting? What do you think? I would love that. I would love to not be bombarded with ads every time I Google something, and instead, here is the best possible answer for you to be empowered based on all the data that we have collected. So, that would be much better, right? All right. So whenever I get the order, we'll do the empath prayer and we can blitz, blitz, blitz away. Thank you, everyone who's subscribed. If you're not getting your notifications, then they say you have to go to your Google settings and turn on your notifications. Right. Melissa Miller has given the order to blitz, blitz, blitz away. And I'm here for however long, answering whatever questions you have. Oh, I did have something that we had to. Oh, yeah, I had a list on that. Hold on a second. The last thing was that there's some stuff coming in about Fox and Trump coordinating with Sean Hannity, Meadows, and false narrative, which incited protest, etc. That's an investigation that's going to start coming out more and more, is how he coordinated with Fox and other news channels. Okay, I think that's all I had. Oh, that was a wild remote on early Wild West, wasn't it? All right, I want to call on white light protection for myself and this community as we ask permission from Spirit to access the Akashic records. We call on our spirit guides and good angels to be with us. Please give us the clarity and the wisdom that is needed to empower all of us on our journeys to make the best decisions for ourselves, our families, the planet, the people we love, but also to help those that we may have strife with. And together, collectively, we say, Amen. All right, the first question I had to do with Lindsey Graham. And evidently, people are feeling like Lindsey Graham could be ousted. He could also be facing possible criminal charges. I think it's now come out that he's been subpoenaed to. Just want to get my list here. So it's now come out that he and Giuliani, did they both make phone calls and have to, they're subpoenaed and have to talk with Georgia? Lindsay's crying on the news. Okay, so let's look at this first because this was the first question. He's crying on the news? Jeez. Wow. God. It's amazing how people with personality disorders can manipulate people to do crazy stuff. He's crying on the news. My God, I didn't know that. Okay, so right now he's facing jail. He this is an actual criminal investigation. What do you think about that? What do you think about the fact that the cards are saying that, Lindsey Graham is facing criminal charges and jail? So, he has to cut a deal or he's at a point now where he has to speak. He has to give some type of deposition, and he's going to have to cooperate because he's actually facing jail time. You can see here, the base of the reading is jail. So he's facing an arrest. His karma is the King of Cups. What do we know about the King of Cups? Great negotiator, right? He's the mediator, right? He brings the water, the healing waters, etc. So, he will cooperate and he will tell 100%. He's a lawyer. He knows the law. He's guilty, and he violated the Constitution. He violated his constitutional oath. That's what happened. You can see here the Constitution, again, government. We use the Hierophant. Here's the violation. Truth coming out. I take it that's the woman overseeing the investigation. There's a man that's going to be criminally charging some people. He's cooperating. Look at his past. He already lost. He has a partner. It looks like a man also. He's worried about his relationship. So he goes off to jail and he leaves his partner. I always see him with a male partner, a romantic partner. This is karma. Who said karma's a bitch? We had to, yeah, Joanna. This is karma. You're correct. Aren't you a remote viewer, Joanna? Oh my God. Jeez. Oh my God. Oh, it's over for Lindsey Graham. Look at this. Look at this. Look at his karma. He could face criminal. What did he do? Did he actually try to break the law? This is looking like he could actually go to actual jail. Something about a strong case against him. Look at this woman. Who is this woman? Look at this. She's coming after him big time. He's in a lot of trouble. And if he admits to everything, which it sounds like he will, he's going to face criminal charges and go before a judge and may have to go to prison. It's that serious. Oh my God, I didn't expect that. Did you see the base? The base of his karma, prison. He's in a lot of trouble. Didn't he say, I was just trying to help? That's not trying to help. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh, here's the remote also. So, you know how when we looked at people who had been compromised by Roger Stone, and we talked about the parties and how you have dirt on me, I have dirt on you, and that's how we trust each other. You saw me do these naughty things. I saw you do these naughty things, and everybody's got tapes on everybody, and this is how we trust. So if anybody saw something on Lindsey Graham. Maybe he likes to be with young children, or maybe he likes to put on dresses. Um, it looks like something like that is sealed. And there's also this fear and terror that whatever dirt they have on him is about to be leaked, whether it's that he was compromised with a minor, excuse me, or something else. But there's also an aspect to this that he'll be ruined. That he ran off for a mad weekend with little Tommy or something. It has that aspect to it, like, oh my God, I'm so humiliated. Oh, they're going to know everything. And it's been going on for a while. So that would indicate that he is compromised. So that's the takeaway from that. Well, that's Lola Bell 59. I think that is what they're saying. They're saying that something happens, whether it's a party, an event, or somehow they get some dirt or something in addition to this that makes it look really strange. Huh, it's very strange. The woman is probably, is she the state's attorney that's prosecuting in Georgia? That's the high priestess. I don't know her name. I just saw her on the Joy Readout. Interviewed her a couple days ago. I think that's who it is. And she was saying, this is not a joke. This is serious. You attempted to interfere with it's a very serious thing. Let me see about DeSantis in general. I just want to see if DeSantis has a future. Cross-dressing parties. Well, that's the NDAs you get when you go into Lindsey Graham, is that he has parties where he entertains as a female, and people have to sign NDAs, which I just think is really silly to have to sign an NDA when you go to someone's home to play bridge and drink cocktails. It's not like anything overly naughty is happening. A lot of the time, Miss Lindsay, that part of who this person is just somebody that likes to hang out with her girlfriends and play bridge. But what is sad about it is the fact that it's hidden, and that this is somebody who has pushed for policies that don't make life easy for people who are transgender. And since most remote viewers see this person as having that aspect, it's the hypocrisy I think people have a problem with. All right, DeSantis. Oh, she said that? Well, then yeah, that's exactly what it looked like, because she's the high priestess, and he's in trouble. DeSantis is under criminal investigation because there's also some corruption happening in Florida. It looks like the Department of Justice he's under criminal investigation with the Department of Justice. I mean, who are these people? That's what I'd like to know. What the hell? So, he's also delaying, speaking with federal officers wanna speak with him regarding some kind of criminal activity that took place in Florida, possibly things he witnessed Trump do, et cetera, et cetera. There's something here about him needing to come in, being deposed because he witnessed certain it just never ends. You wanna see it? The judgment. And then Six of Cups, come on in, we wanna ask you some questions, faces criminal charges. I mean, it just goes on and on because of his association with Trump and the Republican Party, and possibly inappropriate behavior or illegal actions he witnessed because of his associations. It just it just goes from bad to horrible with these folks. Yeah, digging. It's an investigation. Oh, there's also criminal investigation into money laundering and money in both Georgia and Florida. How interesting. How interesting. A swamp of money. They're looking at large sums of money that are coming in from Florida. There it is again, the Justice Department. Mm. They're under criminal investigation because they took money. It had something also to do with meetings on mega yachts, foreign money, foreign business. You have like the Pandora Papers, the Panama Papers. Basically, what they're saying is anybody who has an offshore account, as far as the feds are concerned, they're going to assume it's a bribe until proven otherwise. That's heavy. So Boris Johnson is gone. We know that in the Pandora Papers, Tony Blair is mentioned. So it would appear that certain individuals are under criminal investigation that's associated with dark money, the mega yachts, and offshore accounts. And that's, I always think of the boats and the yachts like three of swords, the money, dark connections leads to jail, the Justice Department investigating what? The money. Yeah. Yeah, it's the Justice Department. He took a bribe or something. He's under investigation. I would be very surprised with these cards and how, I mean, this is looking really bad, these kinds of images. With that kind of energy around it, this is like a bribe energy. I think he's compromised. I think a lot of people in Florida are. This goes back a long, long time. I mean, Epstein was in Florida because he thought that he could pay people off and get away with certain things in the Palm Beach scene, right? So what they're saying here is that all of that corruption and dark money and mafia money and the mega yachts and bribing people who are compromised, who they push through the system, that's having a direct hit with the Justice Department, and a lot of stuff that's taking place in Florida is under investigation. That's basically how I would interpret it. So let's take a look at student loan forgiveness. Fannie Willis, thank you, Sue. Huh, interesting. Well, if you're looking for a real Texan, it's Beto O'Rourke. He's really the Marlboro man. I used to hear jokes about that, like that fella's in a skirt and jokes like that about Texas and steers and that sort of jokes, like very homophobic jokes. But it came out of a real way of life that people were trying to create a kind of tolerance that they couldn't get in the cities. You know, it's interesting. Student loan forgiveness. You learn some things. So in a way, you could argue that Texas became what the whole point of why people went to Texas was to get away from that. And now the very thing they ran from, they're being choked by religious extremism. The very thing it's always the thing you run from that chases you. And that was the thing they didn't want in Texas. Too much church. It's like, who's that guy? Cowboy Paul or whatever his name is on the Midas Touch. He would be culturally the descendant of one of those people. He doesn't want you in his business. You know. Student loan, yes. Student loan gets forgiven based on ability. Yeah. So, forgiven if you're a senior, for example, and you paid in a certain amount of time, you get forgiven after 20 years or 25 if it's a grad, something like that. You can see the money here and then the healing page of cups. You have to file though. Now the thing is that Elizabeth Warren wants to make sure everybody knows how to file when they start doing it so that, after a certain age, seniors don't have to pay in. So the seniors, I think it's going to be like after 55 or something, because they understand that if you don't start building your retirement, they're going to be stuck having to they don't want to clean up the mess. It'd be better to just forgive the damn loans. It's all profit anyway, since it's interest rates. You probably paid off the original a long time ago. They also got it back in your taxes because they increased your taxes when you took a job that was higher pay after you got your degree. It's called triple dip. Other countries don't do this. Other countries don't triple dip like Americans do. Triple dip is when you increase the taxes on college graduates so you can get back the money you invested from educating them. Thank you for the extra taxes. And then you get back the money that they borrowed. Thank you for giving that back to us. And then you create an interest rate, which is compounded so that you start making a profit off the poor person, triple dip. And then you have a quadruple dip, which is where if it's a healthcare provider, and particularly one who's into preventative medicine and is trying to keep seniors out of hospitals, out of extremely invasive surgeries, then that person is saving the government millions and millions and millions of dollars simply by practicing preventative medicine and keeping her patients out of the hospital. So you would think a naturopathic doctor who only charges $110 for a follow-up, they would cut that person a break because she's probably saving you, the feds, $1 million a year by keeping her patients out from having a heart attack, right? So that's the quadruple dip. So in other countries, they don't do that. They go, "Oh, you're a doctor? Okay, well, and you're focusing on prevention, so you're probably saving us a lot of. We don't want to place stents." This is what Israel's feeling is. We don't want to place stents. We don't want to do bypass. It's expensive. We'd rather you learn how to be on a predominantly plant-based diet with Dr. Whimsy because that's going to save us $250,000. So you have the student loans kind of going through. What I like about this is where you have the Liz Cheney attitude where she thinks that liberals are crazy because the liberals are saying, forgive it all, blank slate. And you have someone like Liz Cheney rolling her eyes and saying, not everybody needs to have their student loans forgiven. I think there's a point to that. I think she's got a legitimate point. If somebody took out a bunch of student loans, but they come from a well-to-do family and they're making a ton of money, the problem that I think people have is the compounded interest and how high making a profit off of vulnerable people. So you have the ethos again, Constitution, it's a legal issue, and Justice Department comes in. Loans are going to be forgiven. Here it is, karma. If you're a senior, you don't have to pay it back. It's a sword. You're fine. Are you over the age of 55? Seniors. Yeah. King of Swords. Tough decisions being made. It had to do with the fact that the numbers of seniors facing poverty. So there's a major priority with first forgiveness for seniors, people with disabilities, if you paid into the system a certain amount of time. This is mostly government loans, though, from what it looks like. It might not be with personal banks, but you may be able to have a deal where the government buys back from the bank at a much lower rate and then either forgives or you have to pay a partial back from the government because this is all about deals and loans of victory, like Page of Pentacles would be a loan or money, and then you have Ace of Swords coming in. Also, King of Swords makes a tough decision, and it's often associated with the law or the sword, and then Smoother Waters Await. And then the final outcome creates financial stability, particularly for seniors. I mean, we should not be living in this kind of abject terror, seniors, but you have this nice King of Pentacles, which is to right or to balance the finances. Like I said, give Biden 2.5 years before he rights the ship. It's not as bad as the Republicans always exaggerate everything because they want to win in November. But the truth be told, this president has done a great job. If you look at how bad things are in other countries during COVID, and even China still hasn't gotten control of COVID in Hong Kong. So considering all of the world changes that are going on right now, I think this administration's done a really good job. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're tackling everything, but I always see seniors being the priority. I mean, if somebody owes $400 a month and they are only getting a Social Security of $1,200, and it's ridiculous. So you got your entire master's for $5,000? Well, I owe $350,000, but I've already been told it's gonna be forgiven, so I mean, they got it out in taxes, I mean, it's cool. My taxes, like, tripled or something, but I knew that was gonna happen because I knew why they tax doctors like that. They know damn well we're not gonna pay them back. We're gonna go after you in taxes, doc. I know, and I know why. Everything trust me, they've got statisticians, mathematicians, they get that money. I'm out there practicing 20 years and half, they gobble it up in tax. I don't mind because I borrowed the money. Yeah. But yeah, that's what they do. Okay, so this question is coming from Karen. Can you look at Russia trying to take back Alaska if there's war with NATO? Oh boy. I just feel like they're bankrupted and that the reason why Putin keeps saying, "So you want a deal? You want a deal? You want a deal?" Like Zelensky said, "I cannot take a deal today because it's going to cost me. I can't give up my country." The fact that he keeps saying that is because I think Putin knows that he can't keep going on like this. You know, they're going to go bankrupt. I think that honestly, I think the most likely thing is that Russia will stand down this summer or they're going to get obliterated. People say, well, it will lead to nuclear war. If they don't do it, if they don't block them and force them out, it's more of a threat to them. Also, last night when I did a remote, the Russians were saying that they were terrified of the stuff that America was setting up, the missiles with Poland. So whatever we're setting up with Poland, it appears there must be long range and they must be potentially nuclear or something because that just scared the crap out of the Russians, whatever we're doing in Poland from their perspective. So, high summer. World has to come together. High summer, right around mid-August. I always get right around mid-August. Right now, people confused. Russia's confused. It always feels to me like Russia doesn't know what to do. That leaders, It's kind of like what Zelensky said, it rots from the head, like there's no real leadership, foolishness. This whole operation was foolish. They're fools. War is probably gonna be over in August. Based on this information, the most likely outcome will be, and if it doesn't go to all-out war, it will be Russia standing down by August because of fear of all-out war with Europe, and they can't economically afford it. The truth of the matter is they're already wiped out. That's what it's saying. Star. And then again, base August, the summer is high. Final outcome, transformation of the situation. Clarification, karma, so it completes it. Here's the thing that Russia, they're hammering out some kind of treaty. This is not going to be enough for Russia because they're facing crimes against humanity. Yeah. Oh, well, we're not supposed to predict death, but everybody dies eventually, right? Let's go ahead and see how Putin's doing. Thank you, everyone who liked today. I've got 338 likes. Awesome! If you could like, subscribe. Thank you if you became a member. Thank you if you donated. Thank you if you became a moderator. Thank you, False Teeth Real Tro, for being here. All right. How is Putin's health? Oh, well, I mean, the main takeaway here is just there's no money. The main thing is that I just feel like Russia is bankrupt. Did you want to see? Holding their coin is the base of the matter. Four of Pentacles, the frugality card, and the karma card is poverty. They don't have the money to keep this war going. I mean, last month they said that they had lost something like, what was it? 6 weeks ago, they had lost 10% of their military. So you can imagine the economic toll this has taken. Think about that. You lose 20%, you're bankrupted. Where he's at right now, he wants this thing done before Europe. Look, privately he admits it was foolish. A fool's errand. It was a fool's errand. He's sending people back and forth to communicate. There's justice here. These are runners, Knight of Wands, back and forth. He's trying to get a ceasefire where they will agree to take the land. This Archangel Michael is Ukraine, symbolizes Ukraine, and then rejection of the offer, Four of Cups. So, yeah, he's heartbroken. Ukraine's got assistance from everybody loves Ukraine. This is Russia, the 7th house. This is Ukraine and NATO. Obviously, we can see the cards. It's not going so great. Temperance, patience, his final outcome, the Hierophant. It's weird. It's like he goes down with his church. The church is burning and he's going down with the burning church. So the takeaway is that people cling to things and you know, there's this weird relationship between him, the Russian church, and violence, and I don't really know what that's about. But there's just always the church, him, the church, the soldier, and the church. It's very creepy. It's almost like the church and the head of the church is one of the few people that has power over Putin, and the church seems to be okay with this on some level. Well, okay, Cuba, Russian, pretty straight line. Okay. They're letting men out of jail. Oh my god. Oh, Lindsey's going to court. It's not gonna help Lindsey Graham because we saw his cards. He's finished. He's very likely going to prison. His career's finished. All right, let's look at Cuba. What do you guys think about Boris Johnson being kicked out? Surprised? Not really. All right. Let us see about the future of Cuba, the land of rice and beans. All right. They're investing in infrastructure. I don't are you from Cuba? One of the people that asked. We have a few Cuban money, karma, the money is and justice and also building infrastructure. So they're showing me downtown Havana, and they're putting up, it looks like extremely expensive, condos downtown, the big white condos I'm seeing that are going up in downtown. I've never been there, but I'm there. If you are in Havana, it's a big white condo. It's right smack dab. It's a direct line, maybe 2 blocks from the water. It's that main street with the circle, the condo. So the point is that it's all about construction, 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 and money to build the new Cuba. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? It looked like there was a roundabout about 2 to 4 blocks from the ocean. Yeah, the money is going towards infrastructure. Yeah, and you have basically the Cuban elite, the aristocrats coming back and buying condos in downtown Havana. I don't know. How do you feel about that? Sounds like something Trump would be involved with. Come live at the Trump Hotel. Does anybody know the roundabout area? It goes like this, and then it comes down, and then it goes directly down to the thing. And then if you go further down the roundabout, there's a big white building of condo going up. So it's the legacy. Old money, new money. Look at this money coming into Havana. A lot of money going into schools and education still in Cuba. They pulled double aces, ace of swords with an ace of pentacle. Looks like they're paying also people to become engineers, environmental studies. They're frugal, they're smart with their money. They get their wish. I'm seeing infrastructure, I'm seeing education, I'm seeing the sciences and engineering. I'm seeing extremely advanced work in terms of preservation of the planet. You can see here Empress, the planet, and then Ace of Swords. They're really cleaning up their environment. They want zero waste. This is like really clean. They're excited about new business partnerships of importing and exporting with the Two of Wands in the 7th house, which is an import-export card. The others in relationship with them want to do business with them. Solid. It looks like there's not a lot of corruption I'm seeing here. Hopes and fears poverty, that the people will be poor again. They want to make sure that the wealth and resources are distributed in a way so that they never have to deal with the extreme poverty that existed in the past. they're saying in rural areas where they didn't even have infrastructure or decent roads. The final outcome is that Cuba will be fine. The magician comes in. They have a better government than we do in the States based on what I'm seeing here. They're also concerned about cigarette smoking and alcohol and how it's contributing to public health problems. They're dealing with sobriety issues in Cuba. Also, there's something about cleaning up former problems with estates and money and corruption in banks. That's what I saw. If you're from Cuba, that's your remote. Your country has a great future. Oh, wow. Cool. I think we'll do one more, and then I'm gonna call it a day. All right. I actually would like to know that myself, Lisa. Um, Mitch McConnell is one of those people who never dies, right? He's got a lot of lifetimes, doesn't he? But let's take a look at Mitch McConnell. What is going on with Mr. Mitch? What did Boris do right? That's the question, Twitter. Oh my God. I don't see Mitch McConnell being forced out, but he will probably retire early. He's very, very, he's one of those guys that gets emotionally distraught when no one's looking. But his position is actually pretty strong. He's got, strength, the sun. But boy, his friend, like Lindsey Graham and others, are in serious trouble. It almost looks like 3 senators fall. You had like 5 members of Congress falling, got subpoenaed. But then you also have 3 members of the Senate that are in serious trouble: Josh Hawley, Lindsey Graham, and then one other. But it's not Mitch McConnell. So Grassley, maybe? I don't know. Who do you guys think it is? There's something here about 3 senators falling. Okay, so definitely I would say Josh Hawley, definitely. I think we should look at Josh Hawley before we Oh, thank you, Red Gypsy. It's very kind of you. I think that, I wanna just look because we know Lindsey Graham is being called out. We know Josh Hawley may have been involved. I wanna check Josh Hawley. Oh, Ted Cruz, that's right. Okay, that's true. Oh my god. He may have communicated with the oath oh my god. Okay, so oh my god, I gotta check. Okay, Ted Cruz. Josh Hawley. He's really it's weird. There's this Yale connection. Have y'all noticed that the white supremacists are coming from Yale, which is really, Josh Hawley, the guy that started the Oath Keepers, it's a Yale connection. And they really are afraid that the white race is going to go extinct due to intermarriage. So they want to stop white women from taking birth control. I mean, they're really out of their minds. So he's in trouble. He's in trouble. They're closing in on him, and he's going to have to hand everything over in a secret deal. Is everybody corrupted? Closing in on him. He's tied up. He's caught. So something's going down right now with Ted Cruz where he comes as caught or trapped, and then the other in relationship with him gives him an offer, 6 of cups. So it must be because of his whatever communication he may have had with on January 6th with the Oath Keepers, then hopes and fears the conflict, that's probably January 6th. And then something about money being there is something about him receiving money from a questionable source from his campaign. There's something about money investigated with him. I need to find out what that is. Ted Cruz may have to leave because of something questionable with money. I'll show it to you. Look at this. He's trapped. Patience, sobriety is over him. So it goes back to like that, what that woman said, this is not a joke. Whatever is happening to these people is not a joke. Look at this investigation, the other investigating him and trying to get him to cooperate. Look at that, an investigation. He's under investigation. Look at this, though. This guy is terrified. Ted Cruz is really scared. Look at this conflict, poverty, facing poverty. And look at this, his money origin. He leaves. That's very interesting. So Ted Cruz is under some kind of investigation, and it has to do with some questionable money that he was given or had access to. It's interesting because that also came with Mitch McConnell's wife, though Mitch McConnell himself doesn't look like he's going anywhere, unfortunately, except he might retire early because of his health, but it didn't look like Grassley resigns due to January 6th. That I don't know. There was another person. I want to look at Josh Hawley really fast. Somebody actually had it out. I think Jim Jordan did get subpoenaed. He's one of the black. Yeah, well, I don't know what that skull and bones is, but I just thought it was just very telling that the Oath Keepers come from Yale, and that Josh Hawley is a Yale grad, and there's just this creepy history with racism and eugenics, the belief in genetics. It's a very scary. It's very, very scary that you have institutions that are taking federal money that have that kind of history, and they're still taking federal money, and they're producing this kind of crazy. And they're supposed to be these amazing schools, and you're beginning to think, aren't you supposed to be like a good school? Yale? I mean, you charge enough. Doesn't look like you're producing smart people. All right, Josh Hawley. It has something to do with money again. He took dark money, confusing about his money. Something about him being questioned. Something about strength. Let's find out. There's something about him being questioned regarding some money that he took. Oh, it goes there. Somehow he's aware of where the money was made available, so that he's somehow connected to the money that they made available. So it's kind of an interesting thing, because if the Oath Keepers are traced back to these established schools with a history of racism like Yale, and these wealthy families and people like Ginny Thomas, these wealthy elite white people that evidently are up to whatever, and then you have this connection with Josh Hawley that looks like he's almost paid or instilled by a particular group. And then what happens is the investigation follows the money, and then you have this investigator coming in, the Queen of Rods. It's very, very interesting. It's an elite group of people that can get the money. It's also interesting when you go into the energy for somebody like Roger Stone, because Roger Stone looks like a character that is literally like a theater director, and so if you want the production to look great, you hire a theater production person, and so it's it's never it's never with Roger Stone that he is doing this because he believes in it. With Roger Stone, it's always this desire to put on a great show because he's a showman. He's motivated by the show rather than by any kind of being driven by any kind of ethics, which is rather creepy when you think about it, but that's exactly how it feels when you go into Roger Stone's energy. All right, I'll do one more because we have a lot of people here. All right, so I'll do one more. Rick Perry, the energy secretary. Let's see what happened to him. He's not there anymore, though, right? He left, right? All right. Yeah, a lot of these Republicans just are not going to be there, it looks like. This looks like somebody retiring. Did he quit? I see him having no future in politics. I don't see him going to jail, but it's almost like this. He breaks off his uh, he breaks off his relationship with Trump people, and he probably is just going to retire or something. This is all about somebody just focusing on retirement, harvest, living a truthful life. He's cutting off the other. It's kind of like that was his past. He's putting the past behind him. It looked to me like he wasn't doing anything and probably is going t Oh, he resigned years ago? Yeah, I don't see him going into politics again. If he does, I'd be very surprised because his cards look like that's not the case. All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for the donations. Thank you again for those of you who liked, subscribed, donated, became members. Saturday is going to be a lot of fun. I'm very excited about Saturday. We're going to get together, do some blitzes for people, and we're going to talk also about health and healing of sciatica. That's going to be the talk on Saturday at 12. Hopefully, everybody can join who's a member. Love and light to you all. If you're trying to get in for a reading, you can go to tarotwithwhimsy.com. If you need a quick 5-minute taped reading, you can go to Wizio. All the information is below this video. Thanks, everyone. Be well, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.